All right, Sabrina Peterson. I mean, like, I feel like I know you, but we've never met. I want to establish that. And we don't know each other. And I haven't paid you for your interview, and you haven't asked me not to say things to talk to you today.
Yeah.
The reason why I want to say that is because I think you've kind of become like the face of what we all see as a movement of hashtag Protect Black Women, addressing how Black women and women of color have been subject of sex assault, sex crime, sex trafficking, and other things at the hand of famous men or political men, and then have gone unanswered or unresponded to, and then like you just kind of come out here and been the face of a campaign that has everybody talking.
That wasn't by choice.
Well, okay, so let's talk a little bit about you. So are you from Atlanta? Where are you from?
I'm from Atlanta.
Okay. And so you're here in LA. By the way, you look amazing. I said this when you walked in. The hair, you're giving me kind of Carmen, the hip opera?
Nah.
Yeah, well, anyway.
Yeah.
It's giving me a sexy vibe.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I didn't know who you were, and I felt like I've been around long enough to where we would have met, but we've never met before.
No.
Okay, and so I'm on the Google, I'm on the Instagram, and then out of nowhere, here comes Sabrina Peterson, and all of a sudden now I feel like I know you because you have had the internet on fire. You posted this video where you were talking about, T.I. putting a gun to your head, and it seemed for a lot of us who'd never really known you that it was just out of nowhere. And so as I've learned more about your case and more about your involvement and your messaging and purpose, and then kind of looking at everything online, I understand that it wasn't something that happened overnight.
So everyone has asked me that, like why now is the biggest thing. Totally triggered by the fact, I don't know if anyone's ever had a weapon pulled on them or if you ever had a gun pulled on you.
I've been shot.
Okay, so every time a gun comes out, you're gonna be candidly reminded about the time before a gun came out. And so for me, I got carjacked in Atlanta, and so the slider crime. I was a victim of a slider crime in the city of Atlanta.
This is recently.
2019.
Okay.
So leading to me just being like, okay, the crime here is getting too crazy. I'm a single mom. I'm a convicted felon, so I can't carry my own weapons, right?
So tell people about that. What happened with the slider crime?
A young lady by the name of Alexa Sky was given her opportunity to speak on a panel at a magazine, and she asked me to take her to her car after the event, and I said, yeah, it's 10, 11 o'clock at night. She parked her car at a studio not too far from the gas station. And at that point, she said, she was like, well, can you take me to my car? So I took her to her car. When she got to her car, she said, oh, my tire's flat. Do you mind following me to the gas station so I can put some air in it? Simple things. 11:30, close to midnight. At night. Sure, I'll do that. So she pulls to the gas to the air pump to pump air into her tire. But obviously, you can't really tell how much air is going in unless you're like looking at the dashboard, so you can kind of see, okay, oh, it's 38 psi or it's 39, and making sure she's not underfilling, overfilling. So I get out of my car with my car, running just to get, just to peek through her window so I could look at her dash to see, to gauge if she had enough, to kind of do the thing like, you got enough, stop, that kind of deal. And as soon as I did that, some guy came and slid through my passenger seat, jumped in my driver's seat, pulled out a gun, and sped off with my car. And so
at the gas station in front of everybody?
At the gas station in front of everyone. So with that particular incident really, really, really put me into a really bad space because I'm a single mom. I'm a homeschool mom. So the probability of my child not being in the car, and that particular, anyone who knows me, knows my brand, knows that I'm 24/7 mom. So the probability of my child not being in that car was very, very slim. And so that's what I was just really upset about. And then when I opened up a can of worms to kind of really step up and find out, what was going on, come to find out this particular location had been hit over 30 something times.
And recently too in the news, we just posted on Hollywood, it just happened to Akon.
Yes.
Right? So this is not a new thing.
The problem is that, our city is under attack, and these young Black boys are creating a narrative for themselves that's going to take generations to undo. And our leadership in our city is so lackadaisical, and it's so many, dick riders around there that at the end of the day, no one wants to step out of being a groupie to stand up for what's right for the citizens in the city.
And so I can feel your passion right now. So then you were addressing that issue with this particular gas station?
Yes. After that, I reached out to the mayor's office like, hey, what can we do about these young boys? I went and spoke at these high schools, and just in one high school, one high school in 1 hour of speaking, I was able to uncover 3 AK-47s amongst those kids. Like, they totally opened up to me. This is a conversation that the police chief needs to be having, to understand that these young boys are outnumbered. If you're in the city of Atlanta and you're a teenager and you don't carry a gun, you're in danger because of so many of your peers that have them. So these boys that don't even want to choose this lifestyle are having to choose it because of the fact that you're outnumbered, and it shouldn't be that way in our community. And I strongly feel like, on top of that, that hip hop, and even myself as an entrepreneur, Atlanta's a black mecca. So many black people have become so rich off black dollars. And with that being said, it shouldn't just lean on our community leaders for us to have community centers. There should be studios.
Just more community policing, like making sure. Because I see, like, is it Big Mike that's out there, right? Or what's his name?
Killer Mike.
Killer Mike, yeah. And T.I. They've been active. So I want to circle back. So this happens to you. Then parallel or simultaneous to that, T.I. is online really pushing the Keisha Lance Bottoms narrative, right?
Him putting a gun to my head was over a decade ago.
Right.
But it's just mighty funny. While I'm protesting the mayor, he does this post jabbing at me. Good job, Mayor Bottoms, on this whole homeless thing. But while we're out protesting. So when I was on the steps protesting, there was a councilwoman that came out. Her name was Felicia Moore. She came outside. She was one of the only council people to come outside and kind of find out what were our concerns and things of that nature. So that's when I met her. Then recently she decided she was going to run for mayor. I did a post and said something about her running for mayor. As soon as I posted her, he goes doing a post bashing a woman. And so that point, I was just completely triggered. Like, bro, like, leave me the fuck alone.
Was the triggering because you knew him personally and you knew what he had done to you many years ago? We'll get into that. And then on the public persona, you want to be like this guy who's righteous and all for like the complete opposite.
Exactly. If you're going to stand for people, you need to sit and apologize and right your wrongs to the people. But you can't stand for black women. You can't stand for black boys. You can't stand for black anything. And until you can stand in the face of the same people that you're saying you're standing for, and be able to apologize for your transgressions.
When he was doing the post, you felt like the posts were slighting your efforts to bring real change to the city because he was politically aligned with Keisha. And so did you reach out to him to have a conversation, or did you just say, okay, you keep poking the bear and now the bear's gonna bite?
There was nothing to say. I honestly thought the bad incident that happened with me and him was isolated with just me and him.
Because you guys were so close, or all of you were friends at the time?
Yeah, but I thought it was isolated. I didn't know that several people shared these type of experiences.
So you posted the video, putting him on blast about the pulling a gun on you. That woke it up. And so as a result of that, did you just started getting lots of messages? Were people, what happened?
So the part that was just crazy, right? So I do a post and it's a caption. It's not his picture. It's not anything else. It was strictly a caption. It wasn't a video. It was like an image of me with a bullhorn.
And you mentioned it in there in the caption too about the Keisha Lance Bottoms and it was about the community. And
exactly. So it was about the community. Like, listen, like
you can't play both sides.
Exactly. You can't be the poison and the antidote. You got to choose which one you're gonna be. And so I'm saying, so at the end of the day, that was my sentiment of the post. I didn't think it would go any further than that. And I also thought that me and Tamika had enough of a relationship that if she did have other things going on, because I didn't mention her in it.
She could have picked up the phone and build a bridge. She could have picked up the phone and said, hey, Sabrina, like, can you take that down for me? Yeah, for sure. Like, it's a freaking Instagram post. It's not like a tattoo. Like, I'm saying, like, these are outside people. So I'm saying, like, and I'm speaking on, how I feel, my frustration with the city, my frustration with the leadership, my frustration with the crime, and my frustration with the future of these young boys who are catching all these charges, not understanding what these charges going to do for them, to them, and how they're going to be held against them in 15 to 20 years from now. But this is what I find interesting about T.I. because I don't know him personally. I used to be a real big fan of his music, and I've met him maybe once or twice in passing. But I've never really understood the what's the word? Where you say one thing but you do something. The contradiction. I remember when the whole protest happened and he stood up there with Keisha Lance Bottoms, and Keisha was denouncing people from taking action against Gucci's and this and that, and he actually stood up there. Well, no, he didn't. He didn't. That's not when he did it. He did the protest against Gucci a different time. But when he stood with Keisha Lance's Bottoms and they were trying to tell the protesters to stop destroying the buildings, I understood what they were trying to say, but I also felt like they were trying to control the anger and frustrations of black people who had felt suppressed for so long. I say that to say the contradiction for me was how he's gone off and done the anti-Gucci campaign and blasted Floyd Mayweather at the same time. It's like you don't want to stand with people who you feel are suppressing black people, but then you go and make a song where you suppress black people. He's now come out and made a song about these allegations. Where does T.I. make sense in all of it?
He's a living oxymoron.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he is, and most of us are. Most people are very hypocritical. Because it's two sides to every coin. So you may feel one way and you may feel another way. I don't have shit to do with how the nigga, how he act as far as emotionally and toxic and that kind of stuff. I have absolutely nothing to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
I have everything to do with anybody on God's green earth thinking you can control my narrative. The other thing I would like to even speak on is in our community, everyone's saying like, why now? Why now? Why now? So here's the why now. Number one, I've realized in this whole thing, trauma, just like karma, has absolutely no expiration date on it. Mm-hmm. And just because I got past it didn't mean I got over it. Mm-hmm. You understand? Like you got to think about the seconds of having a cold, like an ice cold piece of metal to your head with somebody that stumped up the steps that wasn't even there. When me and his assistant got into a fight, he wasn't there.
So can I ask you about that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what was said on Instagram that I understand is you and Tiny were friends, mm-hmm. and then she had an assistant. You and her and the assistant get into it, right? Or she was disrespecting Tiny, and then you sticking up for Tiny got into it with the assistant, and then you all got into a physical fight. Mm-hmm. And the way T.I. intervened, instead of pulling you off, he put a gun to your head.
He wasn't there.
He wasn't there when that happened.
The fight was over.
Okay.
He didn't get there till maybe like 30 or 45 minutes afterwards.
So the fight was completely over?
Yeah.
And everything was calm?
Yeah. So
then he pulls up and then what happens?
He stumps up the steps. Where that bitch at? Where that bitch at? Bitch, I'll kill you. I'm talking with a gun. Bitch, I'll kill you. And he takes the gun, puts the gun in my head. Bitch, I'll kill you. Bitch, I'll kill you.
Wait, the gun touched your head?
Yeah. I don't know if you ever been in those kind of scenarios, but
no, not like that.
But like like a person just kind of talking themselves into kind of doing it. Like, bro, for real, like I'm saying, like if you was gonna do that, you should have used it.
But what was your reaction to it when it was happening?
My reaction to it, I don't remember my words verbatim.
Were you scared? Did you think he would do it?
I didn't know what he was gonna do. Like, so it's all like flashes, that kind of deal. I didn't know. I just know from that day forward, I was pissed off and extremely angry.
At him or at Tiny or both?
Both. Like, get your dude.
Was she there when he did that?
No, she was in the hospital.
Why was she in the hospital?
She just had a miscarriage.
Okay. And so she wasn't even around?
No, she was in the hospital. She was in the hospital. We were all like, I think that, I think there was a lot of frustration. Mm-hmm. Like her kid, passing away and my words towards him about the possible reasons why.
Mm-hmm. Was this when he was having an affair?
I don't know. I can't say. Honestly, I can't. I wasn't present for any affairs, so I can't. I can only.
Was this around the time where she believed he was having an affair?
It's been so many of those that you can't even tell.
What's an extra relationship?
Yeah.
What's affair?
Yeah. I'm saying no. Just you can it's been so many times of cheating that I can't sit here and tell you, oh, this.
So. Just so we're clear, when you jumped on the assistant and she was disrespecting Tiny,
she was disrespecting me at the time.
She was disrespecting you. Okay, so yeah. Tiny wasn't even there. She was in the hospital. Okay, yeah. I want to clear that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, it was. But
you were standing up for Tiny.
I was standing up for her in general because it's a longer story than we need.
Was T.I. messing with the assistant too?
I don't know.
Okay, so with people that are watching this, I grew up in the hood. We're subjected to a lot of things, which makes us numb to a lot of situations. So some people may be saying, well, she wasn't screaming, crying, or begging for her life when she had a gun to her head. Being in the streets and being in the hood, although this was irregular and traumatic, you've been exposed to things before, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I just want, because I really don't understand how people have tried to blame you or, not understand where you're coming from because you don't react maybe the way they would react to a situation. Does that make sense?
But I mean, first of all, like everyone's like, why you didn't call the police at the time? What I'm doing here in California is getting into the legal cannabis market. I also currently am already into the legal CBD and hemp market. So at the time of this happening, I was in the black market of cannabis. Mm-hmm. So the neighborhood that this happened in, I own my townhome in this place. She moved into the same community because she wanted to live by me, but she rented.
She tiny.
Yeah, Tamika. She rented a home here, so that's why we were in the same community. Like I bought a house there, and so we were always together and hanging out. So she went ahead and was like, okay, I'm gonna try to find one for rent over here. So she rented the one, and that's in her rental townhouse is where I was throwing the party for her. But it was just like mm-hmm. in walking proximity for me to be able to walk from my house to there. So it just made sense for me to be able to do the kids party, and didn't ultimately want the kid to miss out on her birthday while her mom was in the hospital. Mm-hmm. So it just made sense, like, okay, I got your party for you. I'm gonna throw you a party and make sure you have a good time, and get a party bus for you and your friends, this, that, and third. So as I'm putting up the decorations, the assistant comes with groceries, a whole bunch of like snacks and that kind of deal. So obviously he sent that, right? So that was fine. She came in there and she was just being, like extra, like extra diva, extra bitch, this, that, and third. And I just was like, and I don't remember exactly what started the fight. I just remember that she said something to me. I turned around and it was up.
And this was y'all was fighting at the kids' party?
But the kids weren't there yet.
Okay.
The kids started to come at the point of the gun thing.
Okay. So wait, what would make a man pull a gun on another person for fighting an assistant, though?
What would make a man pull a gun on a woman?
Yeah.
I'm saying I don't get where
it rose to that.
Yeah, especially if you weren't involved. Mm-hmm. It wasn't. I'm saying it wasn't like.
I mean, it wasn't your child. It wasn't your wife. It wasn't your mom.
It wasn't. It wasn't a situation.
And it wasn't her in danger. Right. Mm-mm. So we wanted to say all that. So you've been holding on to that for all these years. You didn't report on it at the time because you were involved in the cannabis industry before it was an industry.
Exactly.
You didn't want to get caught up.
So he put a gun in my head. Oh yeah, and she got 100 pounds of weed in her house. Right. That makes sense.
And you had 100 pounds at the time.
No, I don't know, but I'm just saying, like but rough, like
just ideally.
Ideally, like I'm saying, that's the rebuttal for it. Right. Oh yeah, and she has this in her house.
Well, I mean, he did do a Crime Stoppers commercial, so he did tell you to call the police. But anyway, that was another side point. All right, so now let's take it all the way back. So now you're trying to fight crime. You had a carjacking. You were addressing it. And as you're addressing it and holding your mayor and city accountable, he's simultaneously praising the person who's not helping to fix the problem. You're then trying to push somebody who wants to do reform and bring reform to the city. He's then bashing her to discredit her to keep his person in office, who I'm sure he benefits from. At least it looks that way on the news. Okay. So now here we are. He then puts out a video discrediting your post, right? Mm-hmm. Because your post has caught fire and everybody, Hollywood Unlocked, shit, we're all posting it. And so then he puts out a video trying to downplay you and what you're saying and saying why. And then Tamika, Tiny, put out a post saying, well, this is the person who basically your son is around, and then put your kid online too, right? Mm-hmm. What did you think about all that?
The disgust. Like the lowness, like the nastiness, like the audacity. Like, are you serious? Are you on crack? Like, you got to be on some drugs to put my 8-year-old and my nephew in front of millions of people and bold-faced lie. Like, to sit there and say that a woman, this woman has been reaching out to me and my family, or like I'm a person that tries to come around you. It was noted even by my assistant that. There you go. That's our text message thread. Tell me last time we talked.
This is December 20, 2019. So when
does that sound like someone is reaching out to you?
No.
Exactly. So you put out this presence, and then you also put my son in line. You sound like we were at a car wash in Atlanta.
You and who?
Me and Tip. We're
at the car wash.
Yeah, we're both very cordial. Mm-hmm. But at this point, my car is being washed, so it ain't like and I'm not in no disgruntled situation. So for her to put the interaction up, like it was something different. I'm saying uncle this, uncle that. You know I'm being a sarcastic fucking, you know what. My son right now to this day could not tell you who he is. Like if you asked him right now, my 8-year-old, who is T.I., who is Clifford Harris, he'd be like, I don't know. That was.
So why do you think she was trying to paint that narrative? To discredit you?
I don't get any of it, and I don't understand. Like the part that's really pissing me off more than anything else is, bitch, I was doing something for your fucking child. Ain't nobody ever threw my child no goddamn birthday parties. Ain't nobody stood up and said, oh, Sabrina, I want to fund your child. You know what I'm saying? This, that, and third. I was doing something for your kid. You know what I'm saying? When a gun got pulled on me, I wasn't coming home from no strip club or this, that, and the third, you know? Like, you're in the hospital. I'm here being a friend and making sure the party still goes on for your kid. So, you know what I'm saying? So that she doesn't feel like, you know,
and
damn.
then your husband comes and pulls a gun on me because I had to check his girlfriend, allegedly. I mean, that's just the sentiments that I'm getting. And so you then file a lawsuit against them for defamation of character.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like, I'm saying, like, you've been there for me. You know what I'm saying? You've been around. You watched me go to prison. You know, like, even when I moved here, our last conversation, December 20th, 2019, was a conversation 5 days after I moved here. And I said, you know something? I know you like cannabis. You know what I'm saying, once I get this whole blueprint figured out here, I'm going to help you start your own line. So that was our last interaction. So for her to just go online and to try to paint this picture of like someone, you when I recently seen you was like, oh, we're going to it was actually Alexis Guy again. We're going to her some kind of party she was having, and I was at that car wash or somewhere. I bumped into her at. You know what I'm saying? She was like, you want to come to? I was like, I'm good. And that was, I was like, girl, you know I don't do no clubs like that, you know, but I'll see. But like, so for you to even try to paint this picture to the masses as though you dealing with somebody who's bothered you at X, Y, and Z, like, girl, are you out your freaking mind?
This summer, get the most out of your travels abroad by learning the language of your destination with Babbel, the #1 selling language learning app. From ordering in restaurants or asking for directions to gaining a deeper understanding of the culture, Babbel makes the whole process of learning a new language addictively fun and easy. With bite-sized lessons you can actually use in the real world, Babbel is a can't-miss travel essential. This summer, I plan on hitting every island since I didn't get the chance to travel last year. I mean, I'm choosing to learn Spanish and Greek for my trips to the Dominican Republic and my birthday trip to Greece. Babbel's 15-minute lesson makes it the perfect way to learn a new language on the go. Unlike the infamous language classes you took in high school, Babbel designs their courses with practical, real-world conversations in mind. Things you'll get to use in everyday life. Other language learning apps use AI for the lesson plans, but Babbel lessons were created by over 100 language experts. Their teaching method has been scientifically proven to be effective. With Babbel, you can choose from 14 different languages, including Spanish, French, Italian, and German. Plus, Babbel's speech recognition technology helps you to improve your pronunciation and your accent. There are so many ways to learn with Babbel. In addition to lessons, you can access podcasts, games, videos, stories, and even live classes. Right now, when you purchase a 3-month Babbel subscription, you'll get an additional 3 months for free. That's 6 months for the price of 3. Just go to Babbel.com and use promo code UNLOCKED. That's BABBEL.com, code UNLOCKED for an extra 3 months free. All right, so now the gun is pulled to your head. It's been several years. You couldn't say anything at the time because you could have been involved in an industry that wasn't the industry at the time and you didn't want to get in trouble. So you were triggered by the post and then you put the video up, he puts a response, and what does that do? Does that just send you to a place where now you have to prove who he really is?
No, and not even prove who you really are. Like at that point, you know what I'm saying what I'm saying about myself, you know, but at the same token, and let's just backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
She also got a call from me when he became a Crime Stopper, and I was still in the black market. When all of a sudden, after his case, the feds start looking at me.
So you think he snitched on you?
I called and asked her. I was like, hey, her and Shekinah were actually together, and I called her. I was like, hey, this is Sabrina. She was like, well, I'm like, bro, like I'm seeing some weird shit. You sure? I'm saying like you sure you sure he ain't, you know, like spoke on me down there. Man, them people weren't worried about you. Like she knew, and like they weren't worried about you. They weren't worried about what you got going on. Oh, okay.
So when T.I. did the whole Crime Stoppers thing, was it shocking to people in Atlanta?
I mean, I just don't like it's so vague to me. I don't even know what people are thinking. I can only go based upon, the facts and my experiences. So my experience was it just seemed mighty odd that as soon as he gets off, there's cameras and shit all around my salon.
So when you post, so that's why I understand his post is, and her post is why you filed the lawsuit against them. But then when the subsequent post came up of all the victims reaching out, how did that come about?
When she posted my kid, the first victim also had a child. And she was now this is allegedly, I wasn't there for this, right? So the first victim allegedly was had the same gun that was pulled on me. Her 3 children were forced in the closet at gunpoint with this same, she described the same gun.
From T.I.?
Yeah, she described the same exact gun. There's no way that this woman will be able to vividly describe this gun unless she actually seen this very gun. Like it's not.
Because you didn't know her and you hadn't talked to her.
And I never described the gun. You know what I'm saying? I never said, oh, he put a silver long nose revolver, all chrome gun to my head, which if you look at the pictures of the guns they confiscated, that was, that was one of the ones that was on the table. So for her to be able to vividly say this, and for me to have an 8-year-old that, that's now being victimized and put on Front Street, with lies.
So that triggered her.
Yeah, that triggered her. And she reached out. When she reached out, I posted her thing. When I posted her thing, the DM started ringing like a telethon, like me, and I'm like, what the? This is a lot.
But when did you realize it was morphing from people who had had the same experience with you, with the gun allegedly put to their head, and it being now drugging, sex and rape?
It was the girl with the that had the kidnapping situation, where her husband was kidnapped, and she was paid at the time because he was about to go into prison. So she allegedly was paid a lump sum of money to move and that kind of deal. But then he ultimately ended up doing the same thing that his this is not allegedly, this is what happened to me. One of his people that worked for him came to me and told one of his security guards that was, also on his record label, came to me maybe like right when I came home from prison, and he was laughing. And he said, hey, he's like, man, he said, you out? I said, yeah, I'm home. He was like, man, do you know that nigga tried to pay me to kill you?
Really?
And I said, what? He was like, yeah, he tried to give me $25,000 to kill you. And I said, well, how was you supposed to kill me? He said, I was supposed to push you off a building.
Really?
He said, but man, I wasn't doing that shit.
So this guy who just came home from prison, he came home from prison.
No,
you had just
I
come home from prison. Okay,
I don't know where he had been.
So you had just come home from prison, and this guy who's friends with T.I., or who works with his label and his security, told you that T.I. wanted to pay him to kill you.
He was an artist on his label, like like a real muscular, artist on his label, and yeah, he told me.
And then what was your reaction to that?
I'm like, what? And I just kind of like, brushed it off, but then, just nothing came of it. But I was like, man, this nigga, like, you foul. Like,
so the other person who had hit you up, they had that same experience?
Yes, the one who had the 8-year-old, allegedly, her dad called from prison and said, they put some money on y'all.
Wow.
I need y'all to move.
And so when people start hitting you up, and then you're putting together that there's people being paid, allegedly paid, to try to kill you and kill this person, did you start to feel like it was a part of a bigger cover-up because they knew that there was much more out there and that there were more layers to this? This
shit was Pandora's box. Like, from the children, from from that gun incident, from the kids, from the multiple women that are coming. There's certain things those people were able to say that you wouldn't be able to say if you didn't know. And I kind of feel like because I didn't go to the police, you understand it? Because he was on probation at the time also. That's another reason why I didn't go.
But if you're a street person, you don't call the police.
No, you just don't.
That's just a part of the culture. I mean, and we know that.
And so, but I feel like ultimately, like, if I would have, then maybe some of these girls wouldn't have happened. Things wouldn't happen.
Well, let me ask you this, because I mean, as much as I don't believe in not victim shaming, I mean, you can't really blame yourself for the actions of a man, right, and his wife. Let's go back. So, during all that time you've known Tamika and Tiny and been around them, Now, a lot of the victims are claiming that they were drugged, raped. They've alleged that been minors have made allegations. Did you know that to be these type of people then?
No.
You didn't know that.
But based upon the account of things, is that things really took a sinister turn when his celebrity mounted some more, and he came home from prison and he beat those charges.
And so did you see the girls that were involved with that stuff, or were you ever involved with them that way?
No.
Okay. Well, I just had to ask. I mean, I didn't know.
No.
But did you see the other women involved with them? I mean, was it just known that was their thing?
Not that I can think of. I'm just thinking like, who would have been?
Because you never made those allegations. These were other women that came forward after you made your allegations specifically about the gun, and he reacted to it. But it was Shekinah who actually kind of confirmed it when she did the one video, and she came out and she said, any of those girls who did it on their own, which I thought was just the craziest thing. Did you see that?
She's so funny. I'm mad I got to sue her. Bro, like the comedy hour of the whole thing, like, bro, like you for real? Like,
Do you think that's just really her personality and who she is, or do you think she wants to just be in the mix? Because I never know. Like, I'm amused by her. She's funny, but then on the other hand, it's kind of irritating because like you're doing too much.
I think that she was on some high school shit. When the gun incident happened, that's how me and Tamika stopped hanging out together. Obviously, when you know we have this kind of smoke between me and your boyfriend, wasn't her husband at the time. At this point, your boyfriend has Wyclef reaching out to my boyfriend because my son's father is Haitian. So he has Wyclef reaching out, trying to diffuse the situation, you know, talk it down, and they back and forth talking French, you know.
Wait,
because
after the stuff with you and T.I. go on, Wyclef is getting involved?
So Wyclef reached out to my son's father. At this point, after the gun incident, it didn't turn into no police shit. It turned into some street shit.
Mm-hmm. So the whole narrative why you didn't call the police didn't matter because other people were involved trying to handle it.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And so Wyclef got involved.
Mm-hmm.
And called your
son's father.
And said what?
I wasn't present for the conversation, but the long and the short of it was like, you know, how can we handle this? He was he's saying he was stressed out about his baby and he was on pills and this is that and the third, just like trying to figure out, how can this not go, any further. Obviously, I think this man lives in La La Land in Hollywood so fucking much that you just stuck in movies and songs that you done put a gun to somebody's head and you think this damn Wyclef's supposed to be able to talk somebody down. This ain't motherfucking CBS and Fox News or whatever you call this thing. This ain't Love and Hip Hop or, at the time what is Real World or anything like that. This
is real life.
Yeah, this is real life. So I don't understand what kind of Muppet, child star shit y'all got going on, but this ain't it.
Right. So now Shekinah's entered the storyline with everything happening. And so let me just share with you, I recently went to lunch with Tamar Braxton. Mm-hmm. Tamar put Shekinah on the phone, and Shekinah was more wanting to talk to me about some stuff I had been saying about her because she had come for me online and I come for her because that's just what I do. And in there, she said, when I'm being sued, and she went on and on about this lawsuit that I found out was you suing her. And she said that all she was trying to do was stick up for a friend who left her out there because Tamika was in the room telling her what to say in response to what you were saying. And so
I don't believe that Tamika was telling her that. Mm-hmm. I believe that she's straight up fucking lying. Mm. I don't believe that Tamika was sitting there. Now, I know that Tamika was sitting there because I heard her in the background. You know what I'm saying? And
So you believe she was present?
No, I know she was present.
Okay.
Because they were both down there lying to the police. Mm-hmm. So, trying to take out some level of a restraining order for me. But how you going to, the police looked at what they're saying, like, hey, she was like, oh, this woman's been, talking about me or coming after me or reaching out to me and my family. So obviously the police are going to want receipts, right? So if this woman has been, if this woman has been stalking you, right, then at this point you should be able to show a text message thread. She had none of that. Mm-hmm. And so therefore ultimately nothing came of that. Mm-hmm. But what did come of it was that obviously somewhere along the lines, and Tamika's a master manipulator, right? She's told people like, Sabrina's one of my most loyal friends and da-da-da, like, that kind of deal. And, to actually Shekinah said that to me. Tamika always said that you one of her most loyal friends and that she really, kind of hates what happened with you and, with you and Tip as far as that goes, because you ultimately had to split up. So for you to try to make it sound like it's some sort of sex scandal between us as to the reason why we divided ways, and I live in the home with my son's father. Like, we live in this community. I'm not a single woman, you know, so the narrative that's being painted is like weird as
Was
shit.
it to discredit you?
Yeah, like the narrative that's painted is weird as shit. Like, sweetheart, you rent in the space that I live. You know, that I own. On top of that, the way you met me you met me so that you can do your hair and stuff like me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you reached out to my best friend to get my phone number. That's how you met me.
Shakana.
No, Tamika. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know Shakana. I'm saying,
Well, why does she act like she knows you then?
I don't understand. Like that's what I'm sitting here mentally trying to get to the bottom of that also. You know what I'm saying? Like,
So she's not a friend of yours. You don't know her like that. Y'all weren't Judy's. This is just. So was she when
she
was,
braided my hair before I went to prison.
And is it this dirty in Atlanta? Like, is it this like dangerous? And because I think when people watching, you know, people watch this show from all over the place, they may not really understand the world that we're talking about, right? We're not talking about like your homeboy Skip and his dog next door. We're talking about people who are, you're talking about the black market, the black world. You're talking about like a world that's outside of like what people may know as normal.
I think in Atlanta it's normal. Probably abnormal to other people, but this has been my life.
So Shakana being in this now, is it just attention seeking? Is it wanting to, do you think she's trying to control the narrative for Tiny T? I mean, now she doesn't want any smoke because you're suing her and she just wants to be left alone. You've ruined her life. She's losing everything. She's paying all these legal bills.
She's inserted, this is her second time inserting herself. She inserted herself the first time when the situation with Tamika and Floyd happened. And I reached out to Tamika and was like, hey, you all right? She was like, yeah, you know, like, no, not really, this and the third. I was like, well, let's do something. So that's when we did that video. She told me every year which female he slept with. And so this
T.I.
Yeah, Tip.
And that's the video that came out where it was like, this year was this girl, this year was this girl, and it had music playing behind. What was the song?
She picked the song, My Little Secret.
This was Shakana did this?
No, Tamika. Me and Shakana ain't doing nothing together.
Okay, so when the thing went down with Tiny and Floyd Mayweather, you linked up with Tiny and y'all created that video?
Yeah.
Because I saw the video went viral.
Yeah, and so then Shakana enters a chat on that. Why you go like I'm like, this girl, like,
because she's saying you did it, but she doesn't know that y'all did it.
But I can't come on the internet and say,
because that's not you. Like, you don't. This is the first time I've ever heard you really
I can't come on the internet and say, how the hell I'm gonna know what year he put his thing in what person? Like, that will behoove me. It's too much. I don't even know.
Right.
That's way too much for me.
But she did that in response to T.I. continually wanting to go at Floyd, knowing that he had slept with all these other women.
Exactly.
Okay, so nobody watching knew that you were with her and that Tamika was behind her that video on her husband. And I don't think I've ever said the day I actually came in and met Tamika. The second time I met her was at the time she came to dinner with me and Floyd, the day that Floyd and T.I. got in a fight, which I thought was kind of like sketchy on her part, because this is your husband and here you are at the dinner table with the person whose team and him just beat up your husband, allegedly. I'm just gonna say allegedly. There's a video out there. I thought that was kind of sketchy. So if the public didn't know all that, what else don't they know about you and her and T.I. and this whole?
Well, me and her we had a gig at Magic City. We were doing like promotions and that kind of deal. So we had Wednesday nights. We used to do a amateur night on Wednesdays. So when we do the amateur night on Wednesdays, you know, like he would, you know, come afterwards, or he would, you know, come around, that kind of deal. Or if me and her hanging out, he would come around. So one of the main things that was kind of triggering to me that the girl said was the forcing of the drugs. Like the forcing of the drugs part, I didn't know about that. You know, because I would remember like remotely, like he like, did you pop your pill? Did you pop your pill? You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, we openly, you know what I'm saying, like that's something that, you know, that we openly did, like, you know, smoke weed and, you know, pop pills.
He was pushing, making sure everybody had taken them.
Yeah, so he used to be like, Sabrina, show me your tongue because you know you're going to spit it out. All right.
Did you spit it out?
Yeah, 9 times out of 10.
But why was he wanting everybody to be high? Just to let your guard down a little bit, or to be a little bit more relaxed?
I guess if you pursuing other things, you would need everybody to be high to consent to them, right?
And so now when you start to see all these women come out and then people questioning the validity of what they're saying, what do you think about that? Because I feel like we're in the middle of this Protect Black Women movement, but then I feel like sometimes it only pertains to celebrity black women, not necessarily regular women who are going through situations like this.
I mean, the sad part is that you can't be a situational activist. And it looks like that the activists in our community are circumstantial and they're situational. So with this particular thing, like, I mean, are basically, does a black woman have to die in order for, you know, in order for to get any level of community support? As I stood for another black woman in Atlanta, she was actually raped on camera on Facebook Live. Her name was Jasmine Island. And I noticed that none of Atlanta came out to support her. For Atlanta to be the black Mecca, and, you know, for a woman to be visibly raped, you know, on, I'm saying, like, on, I'm saying she was on her live feed at the time that she was assaulted. And you're saying this was also captured by all the club cameras, which, you know, ultimately, you know.
And so did they end up finding the guy who did it?
They ended up finding the guy who did it. I protested the club. That was my first step my first thing in activism. I was just outraged at the fact that this woman could, like, come into our city and, you know, just be coming to celebrate her birthday and ultimately end up victimized. And then on top of that, the internet was totally, like, bashing her and victim shaming her to the point that she attempted suicide. And so I spoke to her recently, you know, actually yesterday, and, you know, the victim shaming part of what, you know, what our community did to her. And, like, and it was always a great area for me, because for him to be so vocal, because we've seen each other outside of other protests, like when they protested at Houston's, I was there in support of that, you know, when like, you know, other protests, even the Rayshard.
Wait, wasn't Houston's because I think I talked about that. I think I talked about that on Wendy Williams. Didn't he do like a backdoor deal with the owner that pissed off the family that went through that experience?
No.
That was the restaurant, right?
No, that was another restaurant that he
another
ultimately, yeah, you should talk to that woman. She has some things to say too.
Okay.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, that family has
They
some
were
things.
really unhappy about that.
Yeah, they have some things
Yeah.
they want to say also. But the case in point is that I was wondering, like, why are all y'all quiet about this? But now I'm freaking clear. Like, this is the culture. And, like, it, you know, rape culture has to end. And we've seen the situation with R. Kelly and Bill Cosby. Yeah, jail is fine, but, like, where's the true change? Like, where's their commission in place? Like, the music and film industry is the most underregulated industry in the world. And so I don't feel like these people should be able to have these sanctions. You know, the NFL has a commission where you're able, you're saying, like, if you get caught, you're drunk driving, you're beating your wife, you're doing these things, then you can't be on our field. I strongly feel like at the end of this, my ultimate goal is to put in place, to get, you know, to come together and put in place some level of a commission or some level of a board, checks and balances that says, hey, if you're gonna, you know, if you're being, you know, if you're doing these things, or you being charged with these things, or even these allegations are coming against you, then you can't be on our televisions. We can't stream your music, and, you know, things of that nature. And I think these people are so addicted to fame that they'll get in line. Because they want to pursue their careers, they want to pursue their passions enough that they'll get in line and stay in alignment with, you know, with being in compliance. Like, it's ridiculous.
So recently, there were some charges brought against them in Las Vegas and then dropped because of statutes of limitations. I think people misunderstood that and thought that they were found not guilty of it, but there were statutes of limitation issues. Did you talk to that victim?
No, I haven't talked to her.
Okay.
I haven't talked to her.
So how many victims are there now?
I'd have to ask the attorney at this point. But, I mean, based upon what I know, there's a lot of people involved. A lot of people that they're, the messed up part about the music industry is that there's way more victims than you know, but they're all afraid of being blackballed. They're afraid of, you know, being, you know, dealing with public backlash. And the one thing about the industry is that, you know, if you want to be in, keep your mouth shut. And so, you know, a lot of people know that what was going on with them. A lot of people know that what I'm saying and what the girls are saying are true. And it's a lot of very, you know, notable faces that have been involved in this on different levels. But I'm not sure if they understood
what was happening.
The
back end of it. So when you think about T.I., do you think about him being a sex predator?
I think about him being a narcissist. I think his son brought light to it the other day.
When he went and grabbed the bag.
When he went and grabbed a book bag and then
act like he had a gun.
I'm not, yeah, and act like he had a gun. But the words, this lets you know the context of the household. You know, a child will always let you know what the parents speak and what they think. They'll let you know the moral compass. But for that young man to say, oh, this is my daddy's house, speaking of Atlanta, this ain't your, but that lets you know the level of control that he thinks he has
Over the city?
over the city and over the community. I don't like, but you got to think, when you were facing 30 years, you end up, getting a slap on the wrist. Everyone, higher ups in the industry flew in to save you because you were the breadwinner. With this particular thing, you probably think you're going to get away with this. Mm-hmm. Because.
But that's the thing that intrigued me about talking to you, because I feel like for whatever reason, this is actually sticking. Like, it's not just going away. You know what I mean? And so I understand there's another investigation happening where there's actual, like, there's a real investigation happening.
Yeah, there's several real investigations happening in several different cities.
So with Shekinah, and she says that you're ruining her life by suing her. Do you feel sorry for her? She was crying and asking for people to just leave her alone.
I mean, I don't understand how someone, why do you constantly have my name in your mouth? Like, why did you feel the need to even insert yourself? Mm-hmm. You understand that? Like this, all of this could have been killed at simply, Sabrina, you posted something that was in contradiction to what I have going on. Take it down. Mm-hmm. It didn't even have to go this far. Them people that they did whatever they did with would even know who I am. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't have known to reach out to me. They wouldn't have known to DM me. You put me in front. You put me in front of your victims. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, at the end of the day, guess what? You've been in several internet beefs and things of that nature. No one's ever come out and said you drugged them. Right. And raped them.
That's true.
So that's not something that people are going to just make up and say, right? Mm-hmm. No one wants to be a victim. No one wants to be victimized. No one wants to admit at some point in their life they were vulnerable. No one wants to admit those things. So what I'm saying, like who in their right mind, like out of the R. Kelly thing and the Bill Cosby thing, let me ask you this: how many women create a career off being a victim? Mm-hmm. Just name one. Robin Givens actually was a victim of domestic violence, and it ended her career. Mm-hmm. So the thing about clout, and here's the other thing too. You do a whole thing and you saying it's clout, right? These people want clout. But then now the women are anonymous, right? So if you're anonymous, do you want clout?
Mm-hmm. And the women who came forward about Bill Cosby, I mean, ultimately they didn't get anything from that other than justice.
Even with me, my attorney reached out to his attorney. I wasn't moving forward with the lawsuit for defamation, but at the end of the day, I have a kid. You know what I'm saying? I have a mother. You know what I'm saying? I have a business. You know what I'm saying? I have several customers and clients. I have employees. I have people I'm partnered with on the farm. You know what I'm saying? I have people that love me. I have a community of my own. So for you to come out and discredit my character and to make it sound like what I said about myself did not happen, you put my child out there. And then on that live that they did, they were saying my address in Atlanta out loud in front of millions of people that has been played over and over and over again on YouTube's here and there and everywhere. Like that, I'm saying that to me, for someone who's for someone who's speaking candidly, honestly, anyone who knows us mutually, the Atlanta, people and everyone in Atlanta that know us both. So the people you see on their side, the people you see around me, they all know about this incident and they all know it happened. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't even, even for him reaching out to Meech or whatever, Meech is the first person, one of the first people I reached out to after he put the gun in my head. You know what I'm saying? He was one of the first people that, you know what I'm saying, yo, this nigga done this, and the third. He like, man, just stay the fuck away from the people. Mm-hmm.
So you recently put out a video saying that he could resolve it by apologizing. You gave him a week to do it. What made you get to a point where you were open to resolving this and walking away from it all?
Because at the end of the day, you guys put things on the internet about me. Oh, you was recruiting women. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you was sucking dick and this, and that. That stuff I got a kid. Mm-hmm. At some point, that when he looks up his mama's name, I got to explain all this. And for you to speak so candidly and with conviction, there's no way in hell, the way that girl was looking in the phone with her big ass motherfucking face, that you would have not known that she didn't even know me. Mm-hmm. You would have thought we barbecued last week.
I thought you guys were all friends.
But the way
because we don't know.
Exactly, but you speaking with such conviction, and it wasn't until I said, I'm tired of this fan that continues to speak on me and speak on my name. Like, girl, you don't know me. Mm-hmm. And if you, I'm the same person you went and got restraining orders on. You scared for your life. You're a walking contradiction because.
Yeah, so then why are you speaking about
But if you scared for your life, why are you speaking on me? Mm-hmm.
But when you did the video giving T.I. the opportunity to resolve it, or T.I. and Tiny, do you think that they're actually going to do it?
Narcissism, listen, let me explain something. Pride comes before the fall. And I think that the pride just done went too motherfucking far. Like, for you, I'm saying, like, I don't know what you've been doing, what they've been doing, who they've been getting over on. You know I'm saying, like, what girls been bowing down to them, what the hell they got going on. And you saying, like, I don't understand what drug besides fame they're on, but I don't even understand why you would come at me sideways.
You're not afraid or nervous?
Nervous of what?
Something happening.
What's gonna happen?
No, I mean, if he was at a point whether he
1 + 1 gonna always equal 2.
So if he do something, something can happen.
1 + 1 gonna equal 2.
So
It ain't going 1 + 1. Well, listen, let me explain something to you. I want this loud and fucking clear. 1 + 1 is gonna equal 2.
And is it because they know who you are and they know what you're capable of, or who you're maybe connected to, is why they're not maybe pressing the gas on doing other stuff?
It's no reason. Why? We gonna go? You gonna add that to your charges too? That don't make sense. My other thing too is if my other part is they've been dodging service of the lawsuit, and my whole thing is if I'm being honest, right, and I'm losing things, the first thing I'm gonna do is go clear my name, right? If this is a lying bitch.
Well, I think they're dodging it. I mean, I'm just going to say allegedly, because I don't want to get sued. I hate being sued. Is because once you do get service, then follows depositions. Then follows you got to sit down and answer questions. Then follows public record, right? And there seems like you're in the know of a lot of things they don't want on the public record.
I'm not sure. I don't know if what I know they don't want people to know. So, you know,
where do you want all this to go? Like, in a perfect world, if you can just, like, if you had a crystal ball and said, this is what I would like the future to look like.
Girl, I just wish, I mean, not girl, I mean, Jason, I just wish to God, like, bro, like, who to, like, apologize to those women. Like, you don't, like, the police don't even have to be involved. You know what I'm saying? You know who you did what to. But you've done so much.
But at this point, can they even fix all of that, though? I mean, they can fix it with you, but now it seems like there's like 15, 17 something victims or something.
I mean, it could have been in the beginning. You know, there was enough of a window. It didn't even have to receive criminal probes. At some point, humility has to step in the room. Humility could have stepped in. Yes, I did that. I was upset. I thought they were going to do something good, like just say, hey, I was on drugs, and just check yourself into rehab, and, you know, let it, you know what I'm saying, you know what everybody does in Hollywood, right? Hey, I was on drugs. I'm sorry, my bad. You know, this, like humble yourself for a minute. These are people that are involved. You've left an extreme trail of tears. People can't handle drugs. Everybody can't handle drugs. Because if everyone can handle drugs, there'd be no addicts.
Do you know what the victims want?
Justice.
And what does that look like?
I don't know. Justice and like acknowledging what you've done, like
ownership,
like accountability. All this is cut and dry, right? I didn't do it. This happened. Clear it up. People say, well, why'd you put it on the internet? Because if I didn't put it on the internet, it wouldn't have gotten the attention. Those females wouldn't have gotten the attention they needed. You understand that? It wouldn't have, and they wouldn't have got the investigation they're getting.
What do you think about the people that say you fabricated some of those, or you created some fake witness statements? I mean, I never understood how that narrative existed when you actually have audio of people telling their stories.
I mean, it's just sad in our community that within our community, people think that familiarity breeds innocence. So if I recognize you,
or if I know you,
then obviously, or I've listened to your music, or I've watched you on TV, that, you know, their fantasy, I apologize to anyone who feels any kind of way that your fantasy of these people don't match my reality. And if you dug deeper into several people that you have a fantasy of, I'm sure it wouldn't match many people's reality.
Well, even R. Kelly, like, you're in prison facing charges of these women who say they've been victimized, and there's women outside chanting, let him out, and wanting to pay his bail, you know, because you fell in love with the image of who this person was. And the thing that I always go back to with the R. Kelly that I want to ask about T.I. and Tiny is, I had interviewed K. Michelle, and K. Michelle said, and I quote, if R. Kelly's going to go to prison, there's some mamas that need to go too, because they were in the kitchen cooking. Were there people around this situation, security assistants, or just people that knew about what was happening, in your opinion, and did nothing?
I'm going to say this. Everybody around knows, down to the kids.
Really?
I'm going to say this. Everybody knows. Now, do they probably know the depth of it? No. They probably know the darkness of it? I can't say that. But do they know? Everybody knows.
So where do we go from here? I mean, you're in the middle of a lot. You're carrying the weight of a lot. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of women, the victims, the culture, the community, the internet, everybody's waiting to see what's next with Sabrina Peterson, with Tyrone Blackburn, with these victims, with T.I. and Tiny. What's next?
I learned a lot. I learned the pulse of our community. I learned truly how people feel about black women.
And what was that?
Really, we not shit to them. Like, I really figured out the model victim thing. Like, basically, if I had this skirt on and I had this low, then obviously, after this interview, whatever happens to me, I brought it on myself. You know what I'm saying? That's the narrative that's created. And we know Jason Lee. We don't know you, Sabrina. So he didn't do that to you. You get, you know, like, so we recognize him, and this is, he, you know, this is not in his character, and this is not something he would do. Although I walked in.
If they watch Family Hustle, that's an image in your head.
Yeah.
So there's no way.
There's no way these things happen.
Isn't it ironic, though, that the opening of Family Hustle is the same as the Bill Cosby show?
Irony can kiss my ass. Only thing I need is, like, don't fucking lie on me. I'm saying, don't paint me for somebody I'm not. Like, don't do that. At the end of the day, like, I'm more the person. My character will be more to cover up for you, to have your back, than it would be to put you out there. You saying that's my. Saying that would be not in this situation. I don't understand where, like, in this whole thing, when it comes to women and children, we're off limits. Like, to see these activists, like.
I mean, as I'm sitting here looking at you, thinking just putting a gun to somebody's head is just, I mean, I've never had nothing like that. I've been shot, but I've never had that. Like, that would be traumatizing.
Yeah, like, if you replay it over, and, like, you know, people think, and the sad part of reality is, I just want to say to so many different victims, is when you're victim shaming, you are predator empowering. You're sending a message that, like, I understand that you're protecting the R. Kellys. I understand that you know Bill Cosby couldn't do this. I understand that you're protecting Tamika and Clifford right now. You feel me? I understand all those things. But at the end of the day, that two people are hearing your messages. The victims, we hear you loud and clear. We get it. You don't believe us. We're liars. We're bitches. We're hoes. I'm saying, you know, none of this stuff could have obviously happened to us. And if it did happen to us, it was not the fault of the person that did it. It's 100% our fault. We get it. Okay, I get it. That's how you feel. But you're also sending a clear-cut message in totality in our community that if I was me raising an 8-year-old, I would tell him, baby, if I knew my son had sexual deviancies or drug issues or wanted to be abusive, I would push him to become as rich and famous as he possibly could be, because that's where he could. That's exactly where he could do it and get away with it. Another thing too is that you don't know who your victims are going to become. So yeah, at 28, I was the fresh out ex-stripper, months off the pole. I was the girl that was, you know, in the illegal market of cannabis. I was the girl in the streets, but you don't know who that woman is going to become. So a lot of these men out here, a lot of these women, you sitting here victimized. Yeah, she may be a hoe today. She may be a stripper today. You don't know where life is going to lead that woman. You know what I'm saying? You don't know, like, yeah, he may be 8 years old, and you got it off on him right now by pushing him in the closet with a gun, but you don't know who that 8-year-old's going to become. So at the end of the day, for anyone who's out here victimizing anybody, understand that quiet person isn't going to always hold their tongue, and that loyal person is going to eventually choose loyalty to themselves. And at the end of the day, what I have really learned from all this is that there's no way that you can heal from the shit you don't reveal. So when you carrying something, like the trauma that I'm carrying right now, like, yeah, he put that gun in my head once, but you got to realize this. Every single time I think about it, it happens again. whether it physically happens or it mentally happens, it replays again. Mm-hmm. On top of that, for me, imagine just watching a screen and constantly seeing someone, right? That you saying that you know, like, is not the person they're portraying to be. Like I'm telling you, it's a constant reminder. So no matter how many times you try to get over it, get past it, and you truly can't. You know, like, it's still an open wound, and I didn't even realize how open it still was. Mm-hmm. I didn't even realize how hurt I was, because as a black woman, or just as a woman in general, if I fell right now on this floor, I would get right up and you say, Sabrina, are you okay? And I say, yeah, I'm okay. And if I fell again, you tell Sabrina, if I get up, you think you okay. So in that moment, I got up and I thought I was okay. Mm-hmm. But obviously I'm not.
And I think it's also important to say that a stripper, ex-stripper or current stripper, prostitute or former prostitute, they're still human beings with rights too. And so they can still be raped. They can still be molested or sodomized or drugged, and they still have rights. And I think, to your point, looking at a person, whether it's a celebrity or a stripper or a prostitute, judging them for who they are, who you think, what you think about them or feel about them, has nothing to do with who they could have been and what they could have done to somebody. And I find it's like it's our community primarily that does that, you know, that I feel tends to, you know, idolize certain individuals and then just, you know, throw their hands up and say, I want nothing to do with it because I don't believe it.
Like, even I'm talking about, we're going into like, oh, you cut a girl when you were 30. Listen, this woman came to my house. She had my car. She took my car way beyond the limits of our agreement. She was on the phone. We got back and we got into it. She called me all kinds of bitches and hoes and this, that, and third. When she decided she was gonna pull up, when she decided she was gonna pull up when she was gonna pull up, my 6-month-old was in the house. It was just me and my child at home alone. I stepped outside because obviously on the phone we were already mid altercation. At that point, when she pulled up, I said, give me my keys. She was like, I need to go get my stuff. I was like, what stuff? She was like, I got a bag upstairs. I was like, I'll bring it down. She tried to go past me to push into my home. At that point, that's when she started to get cut. Mm-hmm. When she was trying to push in my home, it's like, my kid is in here. You can't come in my home. Mm-hmm. But to tell a story so different, and you know, and throughout that whole part, one of the things that she came up and said was, bitch, I'll bury your baby. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, bitch, if you plan on burying my baby, I'm going to see who's going to be buried first. Right. And so I have absolutely, positively no remorse for cutting her.
Mm. Is that what you went to prison for?
I went to prison. I was on a federal indictment for cannabis. Mm-hmm. I then got 3 years probation for my federal indictment. Once I cut her, that violated my federal probation. Any interaction with the police.
Yeah. And you went back to prison?
No,
for how long? Prison.
I did a year.
Damn. How many times did you cut her?
Not sure. It wasn't like I was like, if she swung, she got kicked by my blade. Right. If she kicked, she you know what I'm saying, it wasn't like me coming in like that. You know,
not Freddy.
Yeah, exactly. It was basically a blade in my hand, and when she swung, she got hit.
So, okay, what do you think the biggest misunderstanding or misconception about you is? Like, what do you think people think about you that we can clear up today is not true?
I don't really give a shit. I don't care to clear up a bitch ass thing. Mm. Leave it right where it is. However the fuck you feel exactly that motherfucking way, and don't stop feeling that way.
I respect that. Now, if T.I. and Tiny are watching, which I'm sure they are, anything for them?
Apologize to the motherfucking people. And apologize to me. Tell the truth. Like, I like that other shit. But if you gonna lie on me, then you lying on other people too. Mm-hmm. I'm saying, because me, you, our social circle all knows that what I said happened to me. So at the end of the day, like, man, humble yourself. Like, completely humble yourself. You cannot be the poison and the antidote. The same thing I was saying to the mayor. You got to choose what side you on. Like, you can't stand for, you say, oh, I'm for black people. So is it select black people? Which ones? Tell us which black people you're for. The ones you didn't victimize? But if you're going to stand for a culture, then you say, like, at the end of the day, like, even the girl I stabbed, she could say what she wants to say about me. I called her. I apologized. You know, once I felt that once the time lapsed here recently, when I seen that she was wanting to do interviews and that kind of deal, I came to her very sensibly and was like, hey, I heard you said you got some nerve damage, or, you know what I'm saying, this, that, and third. You know, I apologize, you know, for how things went down, but do you want me to do something about, you know, getting you a specialist or paying for your specialist to get it fixed? And she was, no, I'm fine. I was like, well, you have my number now. So if you want to go about getting it, then just let me, you know, But at the end of the day, that was her experience with me, right? Her experience was me with a knife. I can't stop her from speaking about that. That's her truth. Mm-hmm. I can say that is 100%.
And you wanting to rectify your part in it isn't to silence her or make what you did okay. It's just what it is.
Yeah, like that's her truth. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like people, like, you know, several people are gonna have their truth about me. Mm-hmm. But to say that because I stabbed a person when I was 34, I deserved a gun in my head at 28, the timeline is off. But you know what I realized though?
And you stabbing a person doesn't make it okay for a person to put a gun in your head.
But do you realize this? I didn't put two and two together. My therapist did this. She said, Sabrina, were you a fighter? I said, all my life I had to fight. I'm from the east side of Decatur. And so, you know, whenever you a pretty girl in the hood, you have to fight. Either fight or flight. Mm-hmm. You know, so with that being said, you know, I've always had to fight. I've always had to stand for myself. You know what I'm saying? I've always had to stand up for myself. I've always had to have my own back. Mm. With that being said, I always fought with my hands. I'm 5'2". You know, I'm 5'2". You know, bitch, you know what I'm saying? You get money, you doing X, motherfuckers gonna try it. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, I've always fought with my hand. But think about this, Jason. My therapist brought this to my eyes. She said, now, it's so funny that Tamika brought up you cutting that girl. She said, Sabrina, have you ever fought with a weapon before that? I said, no.
Who was worried about that?
That I never put the two together. Mm. That I would never enter a fight from that day forward without a weapon. Mm.
Well, listen, I'm prepared to continue to watch this all play out, and I want you to know there's always an open door here, because like I said, I reached out to you because I just saw like people were trying to invalidate you or try to discredit you, and I felt like people need to hear what's happening, and I think that the voices of victims should be elevated. We've had Raz B on the show. We've had people here who nobody want to talk about, people want to discredit, and I think it's important to keep these conversations going, so come back.
This shit crazy. This shit is deep.
Well, let's keep talking. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
All right, look, that was a great show, and make sure you keep coming back because we got all types of amazing interviews and topics that are going to make you go crazy.
That's right. That means like, subscribe, do everything you need to do to make sure you stay up to date with what we got going on.
And ladies, stay tuned in because you know I have your back.
And listen, make sure that you're commenting below because even though I say I don't read it on the show, that's all I do when it's over. Peace.